Hey everyone, and welcome! Today we are going to dive right into one of the most powerful openings in the entire Quran. We're talking about the first 6 verses of Surah Al-Furqan. And we're not just going to read it, we're going to analyze it as a total masterclass in strategic communication.
So, to really get our heads in the game here, I want you to frame this exactly like the slide says. Think of this as a boardroom briefing from the divine. The objectives are crystal clear, the messaging is razor sharp, and there's absolutely zero fluff. This is all about strategy. Now, these first 6 verses, they're not just some gentle warm-up. No, this is the entire strategic framework for the whole surah, laid out right at the top. It establishes 3 core pillars. First, what is truth? Second, who has the ultimate ownership of that truth? And third, why the opposition's arguments just completely fall apart.
I mean, right out of the gate, the very first word, tabaraka, gives you this incredible sense of dynamic power. This isn't some dusty old idea of greatness that just sits on a shelf. Nope. It's talking about an overflowing, ever-expanding authority. It's an active, living concept. And it immediately sets a new, universal standard for what truth even is and where it comes from.
All right, so what is this new standard we're talking about? Well, the surah is actually named after it, Al-Furqan, the Criterion. But what does that really mean? What does it do? Let's really dig into the core of this message. You see, Al-Furqan isn't just a nice idea or some kind of comfort blanket. It's a decisive tool. It's a filter, a diagnostic, a truth algorithm that actively, and I mean actively, separates what is real from what is fake. Now, you have to imagine in a society like Makkah that basically ran on tradition and this is how we've always done it, this idea was completely revolutionary. And the language here is just so precise, it's incredible. The message is sent to his servant, which sounds like a step down, right? But it's actually the highest honor, showing total alignment with the mission. And the scope, it's not for one tribe or one region, it's to the worlds. This just shatters the whole idea of local gods. But here's the real impact. This one verse just detonates the old way of thinking, where truth was something you just inherited or what the crowd agreed on. Okay, so the new standard for truth is set. What's the next move? Well, verse 2 goes right on the attack. It is a super concise, incredibly powerful strategic strike against 3 of the biggest and most foundational lies people believe about God. And the efficiency here is just, wow, it's brilliant. In one single verse, the whole board is wiped clean. You think God needs a family? Nope, no son. You think God needs partners to help run things? Nope, no partner. You think the universe is just a bunch of random, chaotic accidents? Not a chance. And that last point about chaos, it's really hammered home with this incredible phrase, qaddarahu taqdira. It basically means that everything, and I mean everything, is perfectly measured, calibrated, and built as a precise purpose. I love this metaphor on the slide. Randomness is not the CEO here. It's all part of an intelligent, deliberate system. All right, so we've got the foundation of truth set up. The core principles are clear. So what's the next move? Well, now the briefing turns to analyze the competition. And the way it does it is just fascinating. It's not just a boring refutation. It's what you could call divine sarcasm. It's this sharp, logical critique that just exposes how absurd the other side really is. So verse 3 could have just said, hey, don't worship idols. But it's so much smarter than that. Instead, it just holds up a mirror to this thing that had become totally normal and forces people to really look at it. It just calmly lays out the facts about these idols, and in doing so, it just reveals the complete and total lack of logic. Let's actually run the numbers here. Think of it like a performance review for these so-called gods. Okay, first off, they're manufactured items. Humans made them. Next, they can't even benefit or harm themselves, let alone you. And finally, they have exactly 0 control over the big things: life, death, resurrection. I mean, it is a complete and total failure on every single metric. So when you break it down like that, you realize, wait a minute, this isn't some competing belief system. As the slide says, that's not theology. That's bad outsourcing. You basically handed over ultimate power to something that has no power at all. Okay, so the divine position is clear and the competition's argument has been logically shredded. What do? How do they respond? Well, let's pivot and deconstruct their counter-narrative. Because as you're about to see, their arguments scream desperation, not strength. Well, they go for the classic move, right? When you can't attack the message, you attack the messenger. Verse 4 explains their accusation. This is all just made up.
They use a specific word, zur, which means a lie that's been polished and decorated to seem true. Think of it as ancient corporate spin. It's a great way to put it.
But here's the thing, they can't even keep their stories straight. Their narrative just keeps changing. First, in verse 4, it's a conspiracy, a big lie. Then by verse 5, the story changes again. Now it's just legends of the former peoples that he's supposedly copying down. And that's the telltale sign. When your story keeps shifting, your credibility just collapses.
And on top of all that, their whole argument had this one huge gaping hole that everyone knew about. The prophet, peace be upon him, was known by everyone to be unlettered. He couldn't read or write. So the accusation that he was personally writing all of this down, it was intellectually bankrupt. It was a weak argument from people who were cornered by the truth.
And all this back and forth, it brings us to the final move in this opening strategy. After the truth has been laid out, falsehood deconstructed, and the counter-arguments exposed, verse 6 comes in and just drops the mic.
The comeback to every single accusation is so simple, but it's also absolute. Say, it has been sent down by he who knows the secret within the heavens and the earth. This isn't just about knowing what people do. We're talking about knowing the hidden motives, the quietest whispers, the entire unseen back end of reality itself. It's an appeal to an authority you just can't argue with.
But then, and this is just strategically brilliant, right after claiming that ultimate total power, the verse does a complete 180. It doesn't end with a threat, it ends with an offer. Indeed, he is ever forgiving and merciful. And that shows you everything. Power without mercy just terrifies people and pushes them away. But power with mercy, that invites people back.
So let's pull back for a second and look at the big picture takeaways from this amazing 6-verse briefing. First, truth is revealed. It's not something we get to negotiate. Second, false gods fail literally every performance metric. Third, those attacks on the message, they're a sign of insecurity, not some deep insight. And finally, and maybe most importantly, divine knowledge is total, but mercy is always open access. And that brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. This combination of absolute power and wide open mercy isn't just a nice theological idea. It's a profound strategic choice. So think about it. When the one who knows everything about you also offers you unlimited, open access mercy, what's the strategic implication? What does that mean for how you should respond?